Tonight, we've already discussed the media mess-ups in a vital protest in Iran. So I'd like to highlight a protest that has been largely ignored by the American media. I think a massive failure by the media in 2019 has been their lack of coverage of the freedom fighters in Hong Kong. According to the BBC, quote, Hong Kong's protests started in June against plans to allow extradition to mainland China. It would have allowed for criminal suspects to be extradited to mainland China under certain circumstances. Critics feared this could undermine judicial independence and endanger dissidents. Opponents said this risked exposing Hong Kongers to unfair trials and violent treatment. They also argued the bill would give China greater influence over Hong Kong and could be used to target activists and journalists. China's president, according to the BBC, has said that separatism is not an option and stated any attempt to divide China would, quote, end in bodies smashed and bones ground to powder. Close quote. We've seen the protesters waving American flags and singing our national anthem. So why is no one talking about this? Maybe it's because Hollywood and sports media are afraid of losing precious money in deals that they obtain from the Chinese government and the Chinese market. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the Chinese market is the second largest film territory for Hollywood and consists of many investors in movies and shows that we watch here in America today. Chinese investors love spending money on and in Hollywood. We, of course, saw some very small backlash when the NBA decided to bend the knee of their over $8 billion organization to the whims of the Chinese government because they were afraid of losing potentially more than $500 million. That happened when general manager of the Houston Rockets, Daryl Morey, tweeted an image of support for Hong Kong. The NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, quickly apologized. There's also the deafening silence from the left and the mainstream media in the United States. As Lyman Stone at The Federalist observed, quote, the ongoing pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong have been won broad support of swaths of American society. And the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act passing the House and Senate with nearly unanimous support. This bill requires the president to identify human rights violators in Hong Kong and sanction them, and to annually certify that Hong Kong's democratic system, guaranteed under China's one country, two systems framework, remains a reality, close quote. These protesters are pro-democracy. And I thought in 2016, we heard lots of raving from Democrats about how important our American democracy is. Shouldn't democracy be equally important for other human beings in other nations? I think that this is why the mainstream media and leftists aren't covering the story, because it doesn't fit their narrative. So tonight, I ask you to please do some research for yourself. Share this information with a family member or friend, and recognize that our Western values, like we were lucky enough to be born into the United States today, are values that can and should be applied by the people and for the people in other nations as well. Not by our force, but by their choice. Do what you can to let the world know that there are people willing to protest and risk life and limb for their freedom. And to the protesters in Hong Kong, I salute you on your journey and wish you success.